Let's see. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. And I am first going to say thank you for your patience. We have been back and forth today because we were planning to run this as a webinar, and Zoom didn't want to really play with us this morning. So I really want to say thank you all for your understanding if you are logging in on the webinar and nothing is happening. And then hopefully you're jumping in here with us now, or you can watch the recording. So what I want to say here is welcome to Shestainability Talks. I am your host, Rita Hoskin, and this is the place where female business owners and women in male-dominated industries come to learn how to bring their visions and unique perspectives into this world with ease and joy, and to create the life and the legacy they most desire. So myself, as an entrepreneur, business mentor, leadership coach, and a mom of the most amazing boy, Benjamin, I am relentless about having it all in my own life. And I really believe that you can too. I truly believe that when women slow down and connect with their dreams and desires and trust themselves to take action on them, the whole world is actually benefiting from this. It's actually making the world a better place. So as you know, I'm jumping on every Tuesday for lives, and going forward, we're going to do more and more interviews with women who have stepped into their vision with ease and joy through slowing down, so that you can be inspired and maybe have some takeaways of how you can do it yourself. Lastly, I also want to share that this event today is a sustainability event, is actually sponsored by Next Level Purpose Mastermind, which is now open for enrollment, and it's kicking off on the 6th of March. So if anyone is interested, just, pop a DM and we can go from there. Now, I am beyond excited to welcome the one and only Osen Iyahen. I have to say that there is one big word that shows up for me with a lot of energy, and that is wisdom. Osen is for me the very representation of being wise and loving and caring and highly dynamic in everything that she's doing. I have had the pleasure of brainstorming with Osen for the past 6-7 months in our mastermind together. We've been going through a lot of things with our board of directors, other amazing, powerful women. So welcome, Osen. Welcome. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Rita. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you and with your guests.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well, by the way. And how are you?
I am doing really good. I'm just excited that we managed to get on this live today, and we just have to play it with and see what happens with the signals and everything. So I know that you have so many things going on, but I would love to ask you, who are you, Osen? Who are you?
It's a very interesting question. So there was once upon a time that I would, describe myself as the roles that I occupied. I'm an engineer, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm, an entrepreneur. But I've evolved past that over the last, I would say, 6 to 7 months. And I'm beginning to see that those are really titles and roles. And I'm a lot more than those. And the way that I feel about who I am goes really deeply into how I connect with people. And I believe that fundamentally, I'm connected to all of humanity. So, really, my perspective and the way that I approach life goes beyond who I am, what I'm doing. It's more around how I'm connecting and the impact that I'm having on others broadly, not just within my circle of family or friends, but just people in general. So it's evolving. I'm still discovering who I am, but clearly it has shifted, and it's not really about me or those around me. It's more around humanity as a whole and how I'm being purposeful in what I'm doing to impact humanity.
Yeah. Wow. And your drive to make a difference for humanity is so profound. You know, I've heard you share the importance about bringing the dignity back to people, in particular in Africa, and the importance for the world in general to see it from different angles and create different understandings. Now, I'm curious to ask another question, and that is, what is it that you are doing?
Well, right now I'm working in the area of environmental sustainability. And for those who are curious, the reason why I'm working in that area is I'd like to think that my career has come full circle. I started off my career as an environmental engineer over 20 years ago. And I've gone and done so many different things, mostly in the energy sector. But I've come back now to environmental sustainability because it's so important at this point in time, particularly with climate change and all of the issues that we're seeing. But more so because here in Nigeria and Africa, where I live, the issues that we face are quite unique and different to those that in the West, for example, where you are, Rita, in Europe and in the United States. And while everyone's focused on sustainability, I think I bring to it a different set of lenses where I'm focused on the environment because that's my background and my training and my passion and my interest, but particularly as it relates to the social issues. And so you mentioned, my passion and my drive around restoring dignity, the purpose, and that's something that has resonated with me over the last decade since I moved back from the United States to Nigeria, where I see a stark difference in how human beings live and what they can access. Basic amenities are not readily available to people here. And so, as I look at environmental sustainability through the lenses of my profession, I'm more interested now more than ever to say, how can I bring that to the grassroots level? How can I actually improve the lives of the people who are living in this environment, who the environment is not so conducive for, who need more, so much more? And there is more here, there's more in other places. And how can we channel that more into these communities to elevate poverty and make their lives a little bit better?
Yeah. So this is what I find so fascinating, Osen, is that, I remember when we first met. Actually, I remember when you were having a talk at Lean and Equity and Sustainability, and you were sharing these thoughts, and I was so inspired, and we connected based on that. You've had this vision for a long time. Can you just tell me a bit about you, when you decided to kick off your company? You also made another decision about the foundation. Can you just give us a bit of backstory of how that came to happen?
Yes. So when I was conceptualizing stepping into the realm of entrepreneurship, I debated within myself whether or not I wanted to set up a for-profit or a not-for-profit entity. And I couldn't quite come to a decision. So I ended up setting up both. And the reason why I struggled was because all of my background, my experiences, my training leaned very strongly towards the nonprofit consulting entity. I mean, I could do that all day, every day with my eyes closed, right? It was the easiest to do. The nonprofit, however, resonated more with this, my purpose and my vision about restoring dignity. But I had no clue how to go about it. But I knew I wanted to do it. And so rather than saying, okay, I'll go with the easy one, I've always been one who's up for a good challenge. I said, okay, I'll set up both. I see a synergy between both because I think clients who I work with on the consulting side, companies and corporates, can then support these initiatives that I'm building on the nonprofit side. But I didn't know how to go about it, right? So when I set up both entities, I ran with the consulting, started getting clients, started doing work, and the nonprofit was just sort of sitting in the back burners. And I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't have experience in civil society work. I didn't know where to start, how to go about it.
Yeah.
until I came into the mastermind, Rita, and that's where you stepped in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember that so well. And one of the things that I just want to speak to for a bit is where you find yourself. I think a lot of women find themselves, we have visions, we have the strong nudges. Sometimes we know exactly what it is. Like in your case, you knew exactly what that was. About restoring dignity in Africa, and for others, it might be just this extremely strong pull for something, but we don't know yet what that is. And then we have this thing where what comes natural to us stands in the one way in our way of taking that full step. Suddenly we find ourselves working in the zone of excellence where you're great at what you're doing, you're building a business, you can keep a business conversation going any day, any moment, you can do it with your left hand. At the same time, there is this nudge that it just doesn't leave you alone. And that is very often what we say. It's the real deep purpose. And this is also one way where your zone of genius is. It just needs to have a passage to get in there and figure out what stands in the way for me to step in there. And that's what I'm curious. Like, I know, so you joined the mastermind, and share a bit more. What was the situation for you then?
Right. Well, the first two very revealing things that came on very quickly from the mastermind was, one, everyone in there kept asking me, why are you so busy? Why are you doing all these things? So I was, working, as an entrepreneur, doing this consulting thing. I'm also, like you mentioned in the write up for the podcast, a mom. I'm a wife. I'm also working on my second master's degree. I mean, it felt like every day was packed. And anyone who's an entrepreneur knows that that in and of itself is overwhelming. And so I was overwhelmed. And even after I received the invitation to join from you, my first instinct was to say, I don't have any space right now for this. But I really was captured by the essence of sustainability and the idea of tapping into the feminine energy. And I said to myself, I've always worked in male dominated spaces because I'm an engineer and I've worked in industry, especially the energy industry. So I wanted to take a step back now that I'm in entrepreneurship, in sustainability, where I'm running into a lot of women, to tap into that female energy. And so the first thing that came out was, why are you doing so much? Can you take some stuff off your plate? And I struggled with that for a bit because I've always done a lot. I've always been doing a lot. But why the doing, doing, doing? Maybe there's a benefit in not doing. So, hesitantly, I took on board that advice from the masterminders, and I began to drop things from my plate. For example, maybe I was taking 2 classes a semester in school. I dropped one. So I'm now taking one. I freed up some time just to be, just to receive, just to process, and not just always be ticking things off of the to-do list. That created space for me to actually sit still and begin to understand and redirect my energy towards the purpose. And then the second thing that happened also really was for you, Rita, in the sense that you kept probing me and saying, why are you thinking that you have to be the one to do this nonprofit work? Like, yes, you're the founder, but do you really have to be the one to do the work? And right around the time when we were having these conversations, a resume landed on my desk from a young lady who wanted to come and work for Optimal Greening on the consulting side of the business. And quite frankly, had I not been in those conversations, I would have looked at the resume and said, great, but I really don't need any more on the consulting side. We have, enough capacity on that side. But when I saw the resume, it resonated with me because a lot of the experience on that resume was related to nonprofit work and civil society work that I didn't have the experience. And so I looked at that as a complementary person to come and help me start now the vision and the idea of the foundation. And so I hired Yetunde to come on board. And I had a couple of projects that had come my way, but I hadn't started. And I just threw one at her and I said, run with this. And literally, she ran with it. And you know the story as well as I do. We're here today, almost 6 months later, and she's done a fantastic job. And I just sat back and really just guided and provided support, really. So
Yeah.
that's how we came to this point. Mhm.
Oh, this is such an amazing story, and in one way, it's so simple because it's about shifting the question of which we're asking ourselves. Because what I heard when you were sharing this story and your desire or the vision, and you wanted to go all in, and I heard that you were taking it upon yourself as I'm looking just for the how I am going to do it, how I am going to be able to do all these things. And I sense immediately that awesome things, that everything needs to be happening through her. And the only thing we did was to shift the question. Instead of how am I going to do it, it's to who do you know. So this is one of the powerful things that I really want to invite all the listeners. And by the way, if you have any questions to Osen, just type it in the chat and we'll get to that. When we have visions, as women in particular, we have this feeling that, but then I need to do it myself, and I need to know how to do it perfectly. So at the same time as we have this nudge, because doing things perfectly, intentionally, and all these things, we prefer to spend time on what comes in one way easy, which is our regular job, where we are in our zone of excellence, but we forget how it is to step into a zone of genius. So we need to shift these questions sometimes. And I always say, always step away from the how. Always step away from the how until the how is being revealed. In this case as well, what we did was look at, why do you want to do this? Like, why is this so important? I remember you were sharing the story as to, oh, I think Osen maybe popped up there. Let's see if we can get you back here. Yes. And I'll remove here. And yes, how you also just like were driven. So we, in the mastermind, we were going in again, the why, and you deepen the why, and you explain the why. And we then went into, but what does it look like? And yeah, it looks like this and that, and the projects and pilots. And then now the big question was, all right, who do you then know? Okay, I think Osen is out of the game right now. Let's wait for Osen to join us again. There is a bit of disturbances on the web. But what I wanted to share is that what we did in the mastermind was where we deepen in on the why, and we looked at the what, and we looked at then the who is going to do this. And this is where Osen realized that, wow, what a relief. I don't need to do everything myself. I can actually look for somebody. And I think also what was so remarkable is that in the same moment as you came to this realization that you don't have to do it yourself, in came this person, this beautiful woman who was just the candidate. It was like, now she could be presented to you and you could receive that.
Absolutely. And you know what else, Rita? It wasn't that. That was just the beginning. Everything else literally started falling into place. Conversations I'd had in the past with people within my network that maybe weren't ripe for moving in any direction at that time, but were kind of sitting in the back burner. As we started working on the project, I began to tap into some of these people and some of these resources because they were becoming more and more relevant. So it's one of those situations where you say, oh, now I know why this person came into my life. Now I know why I had the conversation with that person last year, because it was waiting for this exact moment to step in. But again, I have to say, quite frankly, that part of being able to let those things align is the whole title of this, podcast, is the slowing down. Because if I was still in that mode of doing, a lot of this stuff will go over my head and I will not be able to connect the dots. So in fact,
what I do now is I prioritize making space. I prioritize, reducing the to-do list so that I'm spending more time sort of in being and in receiving and in processing and into that feminine energy that you're talking about and that sustainability really promotes, right? Because the truth of the matter, and I've come to realize it, is that a lot more literally happens within that space than in the doing space. I mean, the last 6 months is a testimony to that.
Yes. Yes. And you're such an inspiration, Osen, because, I'm going to share this because, again, I remember when you came, it's a very typical mirror of us as women. We have so much on our plate, and you like super successful, having everything and wanting everything. And then I would say this, how you, through the safe environment of the masterminders where we're just sharing it, that you allowed yourself to reflect and say, yeah, what would it be like if I actually did slow down? Like I know that you asked yourself some questions that made you remove some things. And can you share with us, like, what were some of the questions that you maybe asked yourself that made you remove some stuff from your plate and create this space?
Well, there were some very basic questions. I'll take, for example, the master's degree that I'm working on. The reason why I was taking 2 classes or so many classes was because I had set a target date for myself. I want to graduate by this date. And I went back and asked myself, why are you putting pressure on yourself? Why must you graduate by this date? Like, what is it about this date? It's such an arbitrary date. Okay, I want to graduate by this date. Why? And so when I think about things like that, again, it goes to being oriented in that male-dominated world, right? Where it's being a go-getter, it's a type A personality, you got to get this stuff done, you got to get done fast, right? And I said to myself, there's absolutely no reason why I need to graduate by this date or any other date. I can just pace myself, take my time, and actually enjoy being in this space while I'm going through the program. So these were the kinds of questions that I was asking myself. Again, around all of the stuff that I was doing with work and with traveling, being able to say to myself, okay, I have an opportunity to do this job. Do I really need to take this job on now if I have so many other jobs going on, right? Because there's that tendency, oh, it's a job, you need to take it. Well, maybe not, because if there's a lot going on, maybe you can say, well, are you willing to do the work some other time? Or if the client wants to do it some other time, or right this moment at the moment, then you can say, okay, well, maybe I'm not the right person to do it right now, right? So I just had to ask myself some of these fundamental questions, which is, why are you doing all these things? And why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? And the answer was quite nonsensical, actually. It's like, why? It wasn't making sense. And so I saw value in being able to sort of take things off the plate and create space for other things to then begin to happen.
Yeah, I think that is such an important message, to pause and ask oneself, why am I doing this? We can come into this kind of the rat race, like I'm scared of stopping what I've put in motion. We see organizations doing this, we see ourselves doing that. It's like, because I've invested so much in this, I have to complete it in the same way that I put my mind to do it, because if not, like, and we ask, well, sometimes we say just stop fast instead of delaying it. And what I'm hearing is that you went back to your why. And again, your deeper why is your purpose. This is about the dignity. Yeah, that is the whole thing. How did that show up when you ask yourself that question? What showed up?
So one thing that I should also add is, as I was considering all these things and why am I doing all these things, I remember I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and she asked me a question. She said, all of this stuff that you're doing on the consulting side, when you begin to make more money and you begin to bring all these clients, because to be honest, that's why a lot of us do the things we do, right? We're driven because we want to be successful, and success means making more money and all these things. And she said, when you make, get all these clients and you make all this money, what are you going to do? What does it mean to you? And I thought about it for a while because I never thought about that question. And I said, you know what? I will channel the money into the foundation. And that's the purpose that you're talking about, right? Why am I doing all these things? It's because I want to do this work that is tied to my vision. So whether it's the consulting that I'm doing, whether it's whatever it is I'm doing, everything is really linking back to executing on this vision and this purpose. Because again, it's not about me. It's not about, how much I make. It's not about how many degrees I have. It's about what I use those things for. And so I'm channeling that into my vision, which, like I said at the beginning, is tied to my connection to humanity and where I am now in Nigeria and in Africa, where so many people around me are really suffering. How can I leverage all that and put it into alleviating people's suffering?
Yeah. Oh, I get goosebumps. This is so powerful and it's so inspiring. And I think this is the power of when you're working on something that is bigger than yourself. It's like you're getting yourself out of it, and your vision is to really to impact and be of change for something bigger than yourself. And I think this is what inspires me when I work with women, is that very often, whatever there is this greater desire to give something back. But sometimes people who have big visions, women of vision, women of action, find themselves working on other people's visions. They're taking action on other people's stuff. And in the midst, there is this pull, but I want to go and do this thing, which is why it's so important to just pause and slow down and ask, why am I doing all these things? And go back to say, okay, what is my big vision again? Or it doesn't have to be a big vision, grandiose vision, but it's just to step back and think, is what I'm doing right now serving the thing that I want to serve? Or is it just making me feel very important and very busy? Because there's a word, even busy has become too much. I always say, let's reframe. Let's say I'm in high demand instead of saying I'm busy. Because what I say, if you can say, I'm in such high demand. Now, are you in high demand for things that is really important to you? Because that is the difference when we're asking ourselves the question, am I high demand or am I just busy? So slowing things down, connecting with your purpose, asking, is what I'm doing right now kind of speeding up that big purpose of mine? And we can see that saying no to a lot of things that might seems nice is sometimes the good way to also do it. And suddenly there are new ways that opens up where you're implementing your vision in a much more grandiose way than before. I have one question I'm dying to ask you. When you heard the word slowing down, when we started and we talked about slow down, create space, what was your first initial reaction to that?
Well, my first thought was, how do you even do that? Like, I've lived in such a constant doing phase of my life from, when I was young, through school, through college, through my career, that I don't even understand what it reminded me of. Maybe being a child again, where you went out and played because you didn't have much to do. But then you think, well, there's so much to do, so how can I slow down? But it's an intentional thing, right? And to the extent that one doesn't see the value, at the time coming into it, I didn't understand the value. One might be hesitant. But what I said to myself at the time, and Rita, I said this to you when I was coming into the mastermind, was I was going to remain entirely open. I was not going to come into it with any preconceptions. I was not going to bring any of my, prior mindset into it. I was just going to come with an open mind and take whatever there was on offer. And when I came into it and I was working with you and all these wonderful women, and I said to myself, all these women, a lot of them within the mastermind have slowed down. They're smart, they're accomplished, they're successful. They're very senior leaders in wherever they are. If they can do it and they see value in it, then clearly there's an opportunity here for me. And so with that open mind, I was able to say to myself, try it out and see where it takes you.
Yeah. What is the biggest experience you've had from slowing down? Of course, you've had major breakthroughs in your vision and work-wise, but what else did slowing down bring to you? What did you receive as a result?
I think I found something within myself that was probably there all the time that I wasn't in tune with. There's a certain sense of peace. There's a certain sense of calm. There's a certain sense of direction. Whereas before I was just running on autopilot. So I think now I'm in a space where slowing down has allowed me tap into that thing within. And that is really, the source of everything I do now. It's what guides me. It's what, provides the intuition for the calls that I make, the people that I connect to, the things that I say, right?
Yes.
And that's what slowing down has done.
Yeah. And with that, you're now working on the big Agala project. This is this pilot project for your foundation. Can you tell us the urgency for this project and like why this project?
Well, this project is very important because we're working with a community of over 1,000 people who were literally displaced from where they lived in informal settlements. Their former homes were destroyed. And they've been accepted into this island community that's a 30-minute boat ride from Lagos Island, or Lagos mainland, I should say. And this community lacks anything that you can think of that is a basic need. They lack access to clean water. They lack access to toilet facilities. They lack access to electricity. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of health and well-being challenges in the community. And so what we are trying to do as Optimal Green Foundation is we are trying to bring them clean water and build a sanitation facility, because we've worked with them and we've identified these two things as the primary need. We can share more information. I'm sure, Rita, you'll share more information about the links to our crowdfunding site. But basically, there is an urgent need because they are suffering, and it is important that we get them clean water. The water that they're using currently is highly polluted with oil spills, and it's causing a lot of skin rash. It's causing waterborne related diseases, particularly for the women who are suffering a high incidence of recurring vaginal infections as a result of this dirty water that they use every day. This is an uncomfortable situation that nobody should have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so we have come and we said that we are going to support them. We're going to bring them clean water. We're going to build sanitation facilities for them. And again, it's a pilot project. So it's the first of many other such projects that we want to bring to so many marginalized communities in Nigeria and Africa. And, I get a lot of feedback from people saying, well, why Lagos, or why here, or why this community? And the truth of the matter is, this community, out of all the communities we've received information about so far, is the one that is suffering the most, and they need the care immediately. That's not to say that we won't do other communities, but we have to start somewhere, and this is where we are going to start.
Yeah, you know what? When you shared this with us in the mastermind, and we got to embark on this journey with you, and I learned, and particularly about the women, because we know that women are carrying a lot of the responsibility for being, driving finances, creating income from anything. It can be anything, doing hard work. And in addition to that, when I learned about their problems and like female problems, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so important that we help on this project. What I love with this project is that it's small enough that we can immediately see an impact of the contribution. So also what I love is you went ahead, you invested yourself, drilling the well, see, is there an opportunity for us to find clean water, which unfortunately wasn't the case. But you, and this is what I really want to emphasize for everyone listening here, is that when we have a vision, it's so strong that we are willing to believe in ourselves and of course that we are doing anything we can. We're not waiting for permission. We're not waiting for anyone else to show up. We just go ahead, we believe in it. And then as a result of that, believing in ourselves, believing that we're worthy of doing this work, now things can show up. And this is why this crowdfunding is so important. I'm going to share with anyone out there. I'm going to share the link in the post below. Please go in and donate. I'm asking you to donate to this project. We're going to follow it close. We're going to see the impact that getting clean water, a sanitary system to these people that have been placed, because they didn't ask to go there. They have been put there. And I want us to, I get really passionate about this because I know the difference we can make in other people's lives because I'm doing it in my own capacity. I see other women doing it, and Osen, you are bringing this opportunity to us. You are inviting us in to make a difference. And this is what I say, you are going, they, or the people of Agala, this community, they are going to get their clean water. Now, I am being invited to be one of the contributors, and I would like to be that, and that is my invitation to all of you out there as well. So just as a final note there, Osen, what would you say to all the women and men listening to this today about the importance of slowing down in connection with your vision? What would you advise, or what would you say?
Well, for the women especially, I would recommend the mastermind for sure, because like I said earlier, this is the space that really allowed all of this to happen for the Optimal Greening Foundation and for the Agala community, right? But for the mastermind, I would not probably have started the project already. I would not have taken on the project lead who is working on it and has been driving it. But more importantly, to Rita's point about slowing down, I've been there, done that with the, hurry up and get it done and the checklist and keep doing. And what I've come to realize is that while you may achieve a lot and it's a laundry list of things, I don't know that it's necessarily tied to what it is that you really think inside your mind is the thing that you need to do, like your purpose, like why you were put on this earth. Everyone has it. It took me a while to discover it, but I did. And then I didn't know how to go about it. But slowing down definitely is a key element in one, tapping into it and crystallizing it. And then two, allowing yourself then to receive the how it plays out ultimately. Because when you keep doing, you don't give yourself an opportunity to listen and to understand and to then incorporate how it's going to play out. We never really know how it's going to play out, but we have to stop, pause, and listen to be able to get back.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Osen. I'm just seeing a comment here from Eva. She said, so true, Osen, about slowing down and see the value of saying no and create space for other things. Do you have any specific practices that you're doing to remind yourself for actually, slowing down and create space?
Well, one of the things I've started doing more of is meditation. Actually, during the start of the pandemic in 2020, I started yoga with a friend of mine who was doing yoga practices. And I did that for the first year, but tapered off in 2021. And so because that fell off, I started meditating, and I've been meditating a lot more since I started. So that's also a space that allows me to kind of slow down, tap into my core, and helps me to just remain calm and peaceful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think when it comes to having morning rituals, I call them rituals. For me, the minute I say morning routine, I find myself, okay, now I have a routine and a to-do list and a check-off list. And I'm very mindful of that. So for myself as well, having a morning ritual with meditation, journaling, for me, that has been really important. As you know, it's something that I'm teaching everyone. It's, take some space to journal. And sometimes I say one of the amazing thing is to journal about how proud you are of yourself for what you're doing. I think it's important for all of us to praise ourselves more, to acknowledge ourselves, to look back and look at everything that we have created in our lives and be proud of it. And for me, it was through my journaling that I came to realize my capabilities, because it was looking back at things that I had done and really appreciate them. I realized that, my goodness, if I have done all these things, what stands in the way for me creating that next level purpose, that next level of my vision that I'm looking for? So, Osen, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing and for being a part of the mastermind and the next level purpose community. You're so valuable to so many. And I'm curious to follow and to continue to contribute and focus on the project in Lagos and all the other things. And to see you on the bigger stages as well. I really know that this message of yours is so important. So I would say anyone listening into this, invite Osen to talk about the ins and outs of this important project, to helping these people, because we need to learn so much more about it. So thank you very much, Osen.
Well, thank you so much, Rita, for having me. And also thanks to everyone who participated. I encourage you to support the Agala Community Project. And if you know anyone or any other companies that you think might be of interest as far as the CSR project, please feel free to share with them. We would appreciate all the support that we can get. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.